This is key number 2 out of 10 on how to grow your business by 10 times in less than 60 months. In this episode, I'm going to introduce key number 2, how to escape the commodity trap and make your competition irrelevant. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist, retirement planning specialist, and an owner of several businesses for more than 48 years. I've helped over 3,000 financial advisors, CPAs, tax attorneys, many orthodontists, realtors, other types of professionals, doctors and dentists and so forth, chiropractors, take their practice to a whole new level, oftentimes 10 timesing their revenue in 60 months or less while simplifying their life. So here we go. In this episode, I'm going to go through how to break free from the commodity trap and go through 5 different levels to where you will make your competition irrelevant. You'll have the highest compensation with the least competition. Sound good? Here we go. I have given this presentation in front of the $1 Million Round Table, in front of many conferences with different types of entrepreneurs. And so I wrote a book, and it's called The 10 Keys Transformation. At the end of this episode, I'm going to show you how you can claim your free copy of this book and even listen to the audio, which I recorded myself. So this is key number 2 out of 10 that I followed to take my income from $500,000 in the 1990s up to over $5 million by the turn of the century by following these keys. So key number 2, and what I mean is look at the other episodes on this channel and subscribe. Don't miss out. Share, click like, post comments as you watch all 10 of these episodes. Key number 2 is to create a meaningful transformation for your clients, your customers, your patients, whatever you do. This was inspired by a book called The Experience Economy, by Joseph Pine. And in this book, it talks about the concept that people will generally pay far more for something they perceive has a higher value. That sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, they use the example of coffee in their book. Now, I'm not a coffee drinker, but you'll still understand what I'm talking about here. When they published this book, The Experience Economy, they said that coffee in its pure commodity form, coffee beans, worth about 2 cents a cup. Now, when those coffee beans are ground and put into coffee grounds and you buy them and you make a cup of coffee at home, you're probably shelling out 10 times that. So it's going up to, maybe 25 cents a cup of coffee when you create a unique product, a cup of coffee out of those coffee beans, which is the commodity. When that cup of coffee enters the convenience sector at a restaurant or a 7-Eleven, it will go up double to quadruple again, usually 50 cents to $1 a cup, let's say, at a 7-Eleven or a restaurant. That means you're getting exceptional service or it's convenient, okay? Now, Starbucks. Do you remember Starbucks, how they started? If you don't, see, they decided to create the internet cafe, the stop between your house and the office. This is where like-minded people, coffee drinkers, could come and be in this unique environment in the internet cafe. And so people would get their coffee and they would shell out $4 or $5 for an espresso-based cup of coffee, which was really only 15 or 20 cents worth of liquid, but they became very loyal to that brand or Starbucks. So what does this mean? I travel so much. Many times when I'm in Chicago O'Hare, a busy airport, I'll get through security early, and so I'll wait in line for 10, 15 minutes at a Starbucks kiosk, and that's just to get an orange juice or a banana or a poppy seed muffin or something. And I see people wait 10, 15 minutes, shell out $4 or $5 for an espresso-based cup of coffee, and they walk away proud they did it. That was only 15, 20 cents worth of liquid. Why do they do that? Because they have been conditioned at Starbucks, and they continue to think that way at an airport, at a kiosk, that they're having a unique experience. Now, this just isn't with coffee. It's true with water. I remember a bunch of entrepreneurs, we took our Harley-Davidson motorcycles and put them on a carrier and shipped them to Atlanta, Georgia. We all live on the West Coast. And so then we flew in and we took our Harleys all the way down to Miami. Then our spouses flew in, and then we came up through the Everglades, and we ended up at the Disney theme parks and Epcot and so forth. And we had 3 days in May. They were the hottest May days on record during that time period. And I remember stopping in an ice cart 3 times. I ended up shelling out $2.50 for a 20-ounce bottle of water. And I didn't bat an eye. I could have gone another 20 feet between the men's and ladies' room at the drinking fountain and gotten a drink of water for free. Now, they're charging $4 for that bottle of water. Now, I didn't think, well, golly, I could get that bottle of water at Costco for 11 cents. No, I didn't even think about it. Why was I shelling that out? You know, we went out and we filled up our Harleys with premium gasoline and we screamed highway robbery. Because in Orlando, this was back in 1999, they were charging us $1.60 a gallon for gasoline. You may say, whoa, what are you complaining about there? Well, gasoline was $1.30 back home. And so we would scream highway robbery. How can they afford to charge us, take advantage of us tourists? Now, if you do the math, how many ounces in a gallon of water? 128. At $2.50 for 20 ounces, we were paying the equivalent of $16 a gallon for water and throwing it away. If you would have told me at the turn of the century that people would pay as much for a gallon of water as a gallon of gasoline, I would have laughed at you. But 10 times as much? Why? Because in Disney World, we were having a unique experience. Now you're paying $24 a gallon for water when you pay $4 for one of those bottles. So what does this all mean? See, people will pay more for something they perceive has a higher value. If you look at constant dollars for the last quarter of a century, what's happened to the price of food, the amount of money that people spend out of their monthly budgets for food? It's actually gone down. People maybe eat more exotic foods if they eat out. Same things, televisions go down. Computers, my first computer, I shelled out $11,000 for that computer, but it had 2 floppy drives, okay? What about private school education? It's gone up 245%. What about public? 195%. But a vacation a week away, our family used to save for 5 years to go to Disneyland. Now people just, hey, should we go to Disneyland next week? So out of a person's budget, vacations have gone down. Life insurance mortality costs, money management fees, because all of these in the blue are commodities. Okay, education is a unique experience. Are you getting it? Now, there is one level higher that people value even more than a unique experience, and that is a meaningful transformation. When you provide a meaningful transformation for people, you will have the highest compensation with the least competition. The difference between just offering what people think they want, which involves maybe just selling, versus what people really want and don't even know it until they get educated. And so that involves education. So you'll be, secure if you use logic. If you just deal with logic, you'll be okay. You'll do well in your practice and in your business. But if you use emotion, you will be wealthy. So what do I mean by that? Now, if this is resonating with you, be sure and share this with another fellow business entrepreneur that you know and subscribe to this channel. But stay with me. I want to gift you a copy of this book because I'm only explaining key number 2 out of 10. So let me give you a little example of how I use emotion in my communication to my ideal clients. This is a draw shot video, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. There are 3 dimensions of what I call authentic or true wealth. Because when we say the word assets, what do most people think of first when they say the word assets? Their house, their cash, their stocks, their bond, their real estate, and so forth. But these are just things. They're just material possessions. But we usually categorize those as financial assets. When I ask people what are the most important assets that you value, that you cherish, that you possess on this earth, now they say family. See, it's relationships, it's health, it's your faith, your beliefs, your values. These kinds of assets involve people. We call these human assets. They are our core assets. So I put them under the foundational assets for abundant living. They would also include your heritage, your unique abilities, your talents, your charitable foundations, and so forth. Now, there's a 3rd dimension of what we call authentic wealth, and that involves the wisdom that we gain throughout our life, our intellectual assets. Wisdom is a product of knowledge times experiences. Just the good ones? I've actually learned more from my bad experiences. Probably you have too. It would also include your formal education, reputation, methods, systems, traditions, alliances, ideas, and skills. These are the 3 dimensions of authentic wealth. Now, whenever I ask anybody, if you had to let go of one of these 3 categories of assets, financial, foundational, or intellectual, you had to bankrupt it, start all over accumulating that category, but you could keep the other 2. Not only could you keep the other 2, but you could transfer them into future generations. But you had to bankrupt or let go of one of these 3 categories and start all over. Which one would you let go of? Now, abundant-minded people immediately say, the money. Yeah, why would you let go of the money? Because you can rebuild that category using the other 2. Most religions on planet Earth believe that we come to this earth possessing these assets to one degree or another. If you believe in a life after this one, these are the ones you return to your maker and report on. Have you ever figured out how to take the money with you when you die? No, there's no luggage racks on hearses, as the song says. So what I just did is I showed you a way that I separate myself by using emotion and logic by focusing on what I call a 3-legged stool, all 3 dimensions. And immediately I am going to create a meaningful transformation for people that other financial advisors do not do and cannot do. Is this making sense? Now, through all of this, what I love doing is helping people create a family bank. More important than leaving behind money to their kids and grandkids, I want them to understand how to fish instead of just dumping fish. So this acronym, knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits, spells KASH. And so the emotion, what I do to create a meaningful transformation is I show my clients how to leave behind this cash in addition to the CASH. And you can search other episodes on this channel to see how I do that. But this is an example of 3 dimensions of authentic wealth: foundational, intellectual, and financial, and why we believe it's more important to pass down the KASH instead of the CASH. So that's just an example of how I do this. You need to think how you can do this. This is where we communicate that we believe it's more important that values are understood before the assets are valued, and now people are beginning to see a transformation. I'm different than all the other advisors out there that are just selling a commodity, stocks and bonds and what have you. Is this making sense? So as I connect all of this, if someone were talking about you and they said, oh, I know so-and-so, they sell insurance, they're a stockbroker, that's the commodity level. But if they go, oh, they have unique products, they have indexed universal life, now you're one rung up on the ladder. If they go, oh, they're always so courteous, they return phone calls, they do what they say they're going to do, now you're getting their exceptional service. But if you create a unique experience by educating them, you're almost there. Wouldn't it be incredible if they said, oh, they've created a meaningful transformation? So in the book, there's this scorecard, and there are 10 keys, and we're talking about key number 2. And all of these statements go from poor, fair, good, better to best. When you read the statement that sort of is congruent with where you're at right now, you put the appropriate number over there on the right. You will add up 10 numbers. That's your score of where you're at. My goal is to help you raise that score. So if we were going across key number 2, which is this episode, if competition is tough because clients feel that what you provide is just a commodity, that's a 1 or a 2. If business is okay because you provide a unique product, okay, now you're one rung up on the ladder. That would be a 3 or 4. If business is good because you provide exceptional service, that's as high as most get. That's only a 5 or 6 when I'm talking about most business owners. If business is great because you provide a unique experience for them every time they come, you're almost there. But the goal is to have the highest compensation with the least competition, providing a meaningful transformation. When you do that, your score will be 9 or 10 out of a possible 10. So if you want to claim your free copy of this book and this presentation, I have an 18-hour masterclass. You can get this book by going to 10 Keys, okay, free10keysbook.com. And there's also a masterclass if you want, but this is free. And if you print it out on your printer, it's going to look about that thick on 8.5 by 11. Or the audio version is there in my voice. But do this, and this is to your brighter future. Search the other episodes. This is just one episode out of 10.